Director of Analytics and Conversion here at Stream Companies. If you want to reach out and connect with me, you can connect with me via email or on LinkedIn, and both of those are on the screen right there. I'm really excited for today's topic. This is the first webinar I'm actually going to be doing at Stream, and I'll give you a little background before I dive into the content. So I got my start in the e-commerce industry about 10 years ago. And actually, hang on just one second. I'm just having a bit of an audio blip. Okay, so I got my start about 10 years ago in the e-commerce industry, where I built and sold a seven-figure e-commerce business. That is a BMW accessory, parts and accessory website here. I then started a marketing association in Los Angeles and grew that to over 400 members. That was a great way for me to dive in and learn a lot about a lot of different areas of marketing. I then opened a digital agency, which I ran for a few years. And most recently, before coming to Stream Companies, I was a lead consultant at a company called Conversion Rate Experts. And CRE is world renowned for being, if not the top, definitely in the top 3 conversion optimization companies on the planet. They're just a really phenomenal group of people where I really learned a lot and kind of refined my skills there. So here's what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over 7 important steps that you must have in your program in order to succeed at conversion optimization. I'm going to give you the specifics on 3 simple tools you can use to build your insight library. I'm going to outline 5 ideas of things that you can test on your site right away. And then if we have time, we're going to do a Q&A session at the end. So this is going to be a lot of content. So get ready, hold on to your stocks. I'm going to go pretty quickly. But to start, I'm going to talk a little bit about why conversion optimization is the fastest way to increase your sales. And I think the #1 thing you should be focusing on to grow your business. So before I do that, let's just define what conversion rate is in really simple terms. So in simple terms, conversion rate is the number of people who take a certain action. So for an e-commerce store, a conversion rate is typically a sale. For a service business, conversion rate is typically a lead. For auto dealerships, I know we have quite a few dealerships on the line today, a conversion is typically setting an appointment for a test drive, scheduling a service appointment, or entering their email to download some sort of material or a brochure. So to measure your conversion rate, you simply take your total number of visitors divided by your total number of conversions, and that equals your conversion rate. So in numerical form, let's say you had 100 visitors to your website, you had 3 people convert, that would be a 3% conversion rate. So pretty straightforward. Okay. So now let's get into the why. So why CRO is the #1 way to quickly and reliably increase your sales and make the most of your marketing budget. So #1, you get more leads and sales with the same ad budget. So by increasing your conversion rate, you're making fundamental changes to your website that will have a long-term effect on your site without having to increase your ad spend. So #2, the cost of improving conversions are temporary, but improvements are permanent. This is probably the most important thing to realize about conversion optimization. It's very different than a paid advertising strategy. So paid advertising is a critical part of any strong marketing plan. However, it doesn't matter if you're spending $100 a month or $100,000 a month on paid ads, you know that spending more money, increasing your paid ad budget, is only going to get you temporary improvements. So let's say you're spending $1,000 a month, you double that, you're probably going to generate twice as much traffic and twice as much sales from your paid channel. However, it's temporary. So if you stop spending money, that flow of customers is going to turn off. That's just the nature of the game. To see permanent increases in sales, you have to focus on converting a higher number of the existing traffic into paying customers. So that's the way you get more sales in the same budget. And to illustrate that, here's an example. This is a 12-month hypothetical, just a graphical representation of a conversion rate optimization program. So in this hypothetical situation, you can see a client made this is a client that's doing $70,000 a month in sales, right? So they made a short-term investment, a 6-month investment in a very high-level conversion optimization program at $15,000 a month. So if this client was to increase their conversion rate by 5% per month, that would equal 34% lift in conversion rate over 6 months. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking $90,000 is a lot of money, and you know, for some businesses it is. But what the beauty of this is after you spend that $90,000, you can stop, and then that increased conversion will have a benefit long-term to your business. So you can see a $90,000 investment the first year is going to bring in $135,000, and year 2 and on, it's going to bring in an additional $262,000. So a 3-year return on a $90,000 investment is over $650,000. I think it's the best place to put your time and your money. So in numerical form, this is what that looks like. You were previously getting 100 visitors and 3 people converted. Now, since you've increased your conversion rate roughly 33%, it's actually 34, you're going to go from 3 to 4 visitors. So for every 100 visitors, you're getting 1 more sale. And it seems very small when you look at it in these small numbers, but you can see from the previous slide, it can equal a lot of profit in your business. Okay, so number 3, while your primary goal is to get more leads and sell more products, your secondary goal is to systematically redesign your site and your messaging to get better clients, right? You don't just want more, because you don't want people who just come in and maybe not be a good fit for your business and don't bring you a lot of long-term profit. When you redesign your site properly, you're going to get more of your best customers. And this is so important because your best customers, the right kind of customers, will spend more money. They'll make fewer complaints. They're a pleasure to deal with. They refer their friends. You know these customers. You probably have tons of them. And your best customers are really what drive your business. So that's number 3, is really, really important to know about conversion optimization. All right, number 4, your fixed expenses generally don't change. A conversion optimization program exponentially increases your profitability, I'm supposed to say. So here is a chart explaining what I mean. Again, this is just a graphical breakdown of a hypothetical client. So over here, you see a client that's doing $200,000 a month in sales. These 3 blue charts here, blue fields, represent your fixed expenses, which are your rent, your utilities, etc., your cost of sales, those are your salaried employees and their bonuses, and then maybe you have a $20,000 pay-per-click budget, right? So look really carefully what happens when you just increase your conversion rate from 2 to 3 to 4%. Look at what's happening to your profitability. You have increased it by 1%, and you've just gone from $40,000 in profit to $120,000 profit for the month. If you can increase it 1 more percentage point, that's just 1 out of 100 people are buying or taking action on your website. You've gone from a business that's doing $40,000 a month in profit to one that's doing $200,000 a month in profit. It's really amazing. Conversion optimization just really leverages this profitability principle more than almost any other activity you can do in your business. And it really just does have an exponential effect. Okay, number 5, the most efficient and optimized site wins. This seems like a pretty basic statement, but let me explain it in terms of your paid traffic. When you rely on search engines to sell your products or your services, it's really important that you have well-optimized pages, and it's for 2 reasons. And those 2 reasons are reasons that Google loves. So 1, you're making a better experience for your visitors, and Google is all about sending traffic to websites that users enjoy and stay engaged with. So number 2 is you can actually afford to spend more on your paid ads because you're making more money from each visitor. So if you do these 2 things, you're going to have a much better chance in getting the number 1 listing in the Google paid search column. So I'll show you what that means. When you get listed as number 1 position, you get exponentially more traffic. So you can see the first position on Google in the paid search on the side nav bar is going to give you 42% of the click-through rate. So 42% of the traffic is going to go to the first listing, typically. And then it goes down to 12 and 9 and 6, and then all the others combined or even less than that #1 position. So this is the theory I mentioned called the winner takes most. And it really is staggering what happens to you when you jump from position 2 to position 1. All right, #6, and we're just about done with the whys here, and we'll get into the actual how to do it. So with a well-designed and properly implemented CRO program, you'll gain a deeper understanding of what makes your prospects take action and what makes them spend money. So then what you can do is you take those insights and you apply them to all other areas of your business. I work with people all the time. They come in thinking conversion rate experts, conversion rate optimization is all about just looking at one page and making it a little better. And it is in one way, but what it's really about is learning about your customer. And by doing it right, you're going to learn the language that's most influential to your prospects, both in person and print and on the air, the emotional triggers that work best for different personas, the value propositions and offers that most interest your visitors, why your customers are abandoning your site and what you can do to fix it, and what proof elements have the most impact on your potential customers. And you can see that like the material that you dig out of a really well-formulated program has a lot of information you can transfer to other areas. So if you're doing TV or print or radio, these insights can be very applicable to those areas as well. So this is sort of a trick question. In order to succeed at conversion optimization, you need to become an expert in one thing. And I'm wondering if you can guess which it is. You may have heard of or maybe even used some of these tools. And this is sort of a hypothetical question because the answer is a surprise. You don't need to be an expert in any one of these tools. It's good to know a few of them fluently, but you really don't need to be an expert. All the tools do is help you learn something. And what you need to become an expert in is your customers. And the way to do that is to follow a process. And that's what I'm going to go over today. This is the process that Stream follows. This is the Stream CRO process. And this is what I've developed over the past few months at Stream, as well as the last 10 years that I've spent doing this. So our optimization program is a 7-step application of various tools and strategies to scientifically improve your website conversions. Now, if you were working with us on a full client conversion optimization program, this is what I would lead you through. Today, I only have about 45 minutes left. There's no way I can go through all these, but we're going to go into detail on step 2 and step 4, which are really 2 of the most critical steps. So we're going to talk about building your insight library, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. And then I'm going to talk to you about running tests to increase your conversion rate. So here we go. Step number 2, hold on to your socks. Building your insight library. So what you need to start thinking about, what you need to start doing in your conversion program is looking for the answers to very specific questions. It's not just about redesigning your pages or organizing them or changing the color of a button. Those are really subtle, rudimentary things that are not going to lead to great results. So you need to start realizing that the people coming to your website are people, and they have emotions behind what they do. So you've got to figure out what they're doing and why they're doing it. So by doing this, it'll lead you to really one of the most important questions, which is what is currently stopping people from making a purchase, and what can we do to fix that? So we're going to dive right into 3 actionable items. These are tools that you can use to build your insight library starting right now. And some of these are free and others are very inexpensive. So there's no cost prohibitiveness here. And I'm going to walk you through how to do each one and the language to use in each to be very effective. So 1, heat maps. So if you've ever seen a heat map, this is going to look familiar. On the left here, we have what's called the heat map. And on the right, we have what's called the scroll map. So and you can see in the background, there is a website picture in the background. This is a tool that's used, and the tool that I used for this is called Crazy Egg. If you want, I can send a list of tools after the call. I'd be happy to share that with you. But this one is called Crazy Egg, and all these hotspots that you see here are places where people were spending the most time. So this is where they were getting clicks. All these hotspots means that the hotter the spot, like this, means this was getting a lot of clicks. And anywhere where it's black means there was no clicks there. On the right, the scroll map this white line here, I put this white line on here to show you that only 50%, this is the 50% mark, so only 50% of the people who saw this page went below this line. So this is really important to realize, because if you have designed a page and you have a lot of your really important information down here, for example, you can see over here, a lot of people are clicking on these links, there's 50% of the people are never even making it to the bottom of the page. So a scroll map is going to tell you that and tell you where they're stopping. And here's, from looking at this, here's a few insights that I would draw from this if I was running this as my conversion project. So one, arguably the most valuable space you have on your entire website is your header, right? The part that is always consistent at the top of the page, that has maybe your navigation menu, your logo, a little bit about the company, maybe directions, maybe your phone number. That is arguably the most valuable space you have on your website. And here you can see that the header links over on the left, you can see I've circled this in red. These green outlines are obviously not on the web page. The green is what I circled to point out something good, and the red is what I circled to point out something bad. So you can see here the service link and the About Us link hardly gets any attention at all. That's why it's, you know, there's not much there in terms of the heat map. So the header could be redesigned to move some of the content from below up to the top, and it would be more visible, more easy. It would be easier for people to find and click, and it would probably be seen by all the people, and it wouldn't be missed by these people that aren't scrolling down to the bottom of the page. So number two that I noticed here, the featured car of the week. That is actually right here. See this banner right here? It's getting practically 0 clicks. And not only is it getting practically 0 clicks, but it's pushing down this valuable content on the left inside that green box. It's pushing that content down below the fold and out of people's sites. So not only is it not getting the clicks that we wanted, but it's pushing the valuable content down. All right, number three. This is a really subtle difference, and it's something I'm going to mention a little later in our call. So number three is the slight change in wording might increase engagement. So if you look at the top, this first link here, inventory, right? It gets a decent amount of clicks, but what gets a ton of clicks is this one called search inventory. So inventory and search inventory might not sound very different, but they kind of are. So this just points out that your specific words that you use really have a big impact. And same thing with down at the very bottom in the footer here. What this says here in this hotspot down here is new car specials and used car specials versus up in the header where it just says specials. So maybe what I would recommend here, that'd definitely be worth the test, is to remove these two navigation bars, service and about us. I'd move them lower, and then instead of having specials up here and inventory, I would have search inventory, new car specials, and used car specials. So what I've done is I've taken the material that customers are telling us by their actions where they're clicking, and I've moved it into a very valuable part of the real estate in the header that's going to be there on every single page so people can access that and get to where they want to get to very quickly. And then one last thing, number four, is the order of the vehicles. So you can see that these vehicles all have a slight different amount of clicks to them. What I would do is I would reorganize these in terms of the hottest vehicle. I would put that first. A common mistake I see is people putting things in alphabetical order, either their menus or their cars. And it happens a lot. Practically every site you look at will have an issue where things are organized, quote unquote, logically to what's going to increase conversion. So if you just reorganize that and move the most popular cars to the left, it'll probably increase conversions as well. So here's a couple quick examples of headers, just because I mentioned how important the header is. This is Zappos. And Zappos is one of the largest e-commerce stores on the planet. And you can see what a dynamite job they do in their header. So right at the very top, it has a unique value proposition, or their unique selling proposition. So fast, free shipping on all orders. They're also very customer service oriented, and you can see that all over the place. You see powered by service, 24/7 customer service, help, live help. I mean, there's learn more. There's just stuff everywhere to let you know how important it is for that we know as a customer how much importance they place on service. All right, here's another header that's great. This is a appliances online store. And again, in the header, they put their value propositions right at the very, very top. You can't miss them. And they're on every page. Free next day delivery, free connection removal and recycling, Australian customer support, best value guarantee. Then they have a call out here that says, call us now, we're here 24/7. And they have a trust element here. So they have a security, McAfee Secure, which is a very recognizable logo that helps increase trust. Now, one of the other things I mentioned is the problem with the scroll map, right? A lot of people don't scroll down the page. Here's a few quick examples I pulled out to show you ways that you can urge people to scroll down. So on the left here, this is a motorcycle website. I really like a lot of stuff they're doing. They're actually local here in Philadelphia. And notice the menu on the side here, by the way it's designed, when you look at this, you know that it continues down off the page. You know you're not at the bottom of the menu, right? If this gray box in the background maybe ended here, and then there's another box that ended here, you might think you're at the bottom of the page just by looking at this, so you wouldn't scroll down. So that's one way that you can do it, is have an element that crosses this divider line to make whoever's visiting the site continue to scroll down. This one on the right here, this is some Android website. I'm not exactly sure what KitKat has to do with Android. I don't quite get it. But what they've done here is they've done a little arrow. So think of the difference. If this little button was missing, I would think that's the whole website, right? It has what's called a false bottom. And a false bottom just means you think you're at the bottom of the page, but there's actually tons of stuff below that. So they've done a nice job with just a little simple button right here. You could click on it, it'll scroll you down, or it just makes you want to look down to see what's down there. All right, so we're going to dive into number 2. So first of all, we went over heat maps. We're going to move on to number 2 tip for finding out why your customers are leaving, and that is analytics. And when people hear the word Google Analytics, a lot of times they get nervous and scared and throw in the towel and think it's too complicated. But that's not the fact. You don't need to be a Google Analytics expert. You just need to look for outliers, good and bad, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So when you log into Analytics, there are dozens and dozens of reports. I mean, you can, with customizing reports, there's an infinite number, I think. But this report we're looking at here, you can see in the top right, it says source and medium. So this report shows the origin of your traffic, such as a search engine, like Google, for example, or a domain, such as Facebook. It also shows the medium, and medium refers to the general category of the source. So for example, that might be organic search, or pay-per-click, or web referral. So the traffic sources that I highlighted in green, you can see are converting. See this column right here, e-commerce conversion rate. The highlights in green are converting at way higher than the rest of the traffic, at least the rest of the traffic for the pages, the rest of the sources for the pages that are getting a lot of traffic. So you can see the average e-commerce conversion rate is 1.12%. That's pretty typical. I see that a lot with clients. But these two referral sources, this one's sending 1,600 sessions a month, and this one's 603. These are converting at 7% and over 10%. So this is a huge increase. So what I would do here is I would then explore the referring website to see where that traffic is coming from and find out what they're doing when they get to this site. So this could be that there's a blog discussing one of your products or services, and they're pre-selling your visitors on your product. So by the time the visitor gets to your site, they get to your site, they see the product, they've already been sold on it, they love it, they buy it. So what you want to do is you want to look for those outliers, right? So these are definitely outliers. They pop out just when you go and you look at this, and find the source that they're coming from and use the knowledge from that exercise to redesign your content and your pages so you can convert more visitors. And you can take that same the same terminology, same language, same strategy, and use it on your pages that are getting 64,000 visits or 147,000 visits. Imagine what would happen to your business if you move this 0.88% conversion even just a smidge towards 6.74. I mean, it would dramatically change your business. All right, here's another report. This is another great one. This is called the device category report page. So you'll notice this has desktop, mobile, and tablet. So this just shows you your traffic from those three different devices. It's pretty simple. And you can see here, mobile and tablet combined for this report is roughly the same as desktop. However, if you look at their total revenue numbers, so desktop, they brought in about $464,000, the 1.2 or 1.92% conversion rate. Look at how awful this conversion rate is here. So this is one of the first things I do when I work with a client is look at their mobile and tablet traffic and see how it's converting. Clearly, this site needs a lot of work to get the mobile conversions up. And again, you can see if we were to increase the conversion rate of these two traffic sources, let's say halfway up to 0.92, so that would be somewhere around 1.0 roughly. You would have just grown your business by 50%. I mean, it's amazing what can happen when you start looking at these insights and these outliers. Okay, last report I'm going to show you is this is just a page report. So this is traffic to certain pages, right? And what we're looking at here is the exit rate. So you see this column on the far right, says percentage exit. What this means is these are pages, this is the last page that someone saw before they left your site. So when you see an outlier like this red one here, this is a 45% exit rate. So it's double the average exit rate. And it's 4 times as bad as the exit rate for some of the most popular pages on the site. So something's wrong with this page. Something's wrong with the experience, the messaging, or the page itself. It might be broken. Perhaps the customers are not finding what they want. Perhaps the name of an item is incorrect, so people are actually arriving at that page thinking they're going to see an apple and they see an orange. So this is an opportunity to get 2,200 people to stay on your website. And well, actually, roughly half of those people are leaving, right? So roughly 1,000 people are leaving because they're not happy with what's going on this page. So if you fix that, you just created 1,000 new customers that are going to hang out on your site and possibly buy something. Okay, so that leads us to one of my favorite questions. What is the best way to find out why people are leaving without taking action? I'm just going to give you a minute just to think about that. I know I can't hear you and I'm not on live chat, but the answer might surprise you with how simple it is. You ask them. This so often is that people get so wrapped up in their business and their website and they think, oh, I got to change this color and this menu's in the wrong place. They forget that that visitors to your website are people. They're not robots. They're people. And imagine if you had a brick and mortar store and you had 1,000 people coming into your store every day. 1,000 people came in and 990 of them made a kind of a disgusted face and walked right out. You would grab some of those people and you would ask them, what's happening? Why are you leaving? Why aren't you looking around? Why aren't you taking a look at what's here? And there are ways to do that on your website. It's not as easy, but there are some really good ways to do this. And here's one of them, exit surveys. So when someone browses around your website, you can see on the left here, this was the sign-up page for the webinar, right, that you're on right now. So if you came to this site and you decided, no, this isn't for me, and you were going to leave, you move your mouse up to the top like you're going to close the browser window or go somewhere else, this pop-up is going to come up right from the bottom of the page, only when you're about to leave, and ask a question like this. Before you go, if you didn't sign up for our webinar today, can you tell us why not? And having a pop-up question like this is going to lead you to find some really dynamite answers. And that's what we're going to get into. Because what we're really ideally trying to answer is why aren't more visitors converting and how can we fix this? So when we ask those questions and we know why they're not buying, what do we do? This is not a trick question. I'm going to answer it right we run A/B split test. So an A/B split test is a pretty complicated sounding thing, but it's actually really simple. So there's a tiny script that you can put on your website, and there's a bunch of tools that do it. Some of them are enterprise level, they're very expensive. Some are very, very inexpensive, and you can get this, done for, some of them are even free if you don't have a ton of traffic on your website. So don't let this cost scare you of the tools, because some of them are free. So what you're doing here is, let's imagine you have 4 visitors to your website. When you install a split test software, you're going to put a little piece of code on your website, and all that does is split your traffic. So half the people will see the original version of your page, and then half will see another version of your page which you have modified inside the split testing software. And then all you need to do is track how many people buy that see page A and how many people buy that see page B. And you do that by putting a script on your thank you page. And you can see in here, in this diagram, 12% of the people bought from B, 18% of the people bought from A. So A outperformed B by 50%, right? So that's clearly a winner. So you would want to promote that to your site. So let me show you an actual example of that. Okay, this is just a sample page I built for today's call. On the left, this is the actual page on this website. And what I've done here is I've made a number of changes. We should have done this like that, like those games where you have to try to pick out where the changes are and click on them. It'd be kind of fun. But so I've put just a couple major changes in here. And my primary hypothesis for this page was that it was too crowded. Right? So the page on the left, you can see, has a banner ad here. It has one call to action here. Here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, here's 5. All right, so it's got 5 calls to action within this product area, car area, and then 1 here. So there's 6 call to actions on this page. I've reduced that to really just 1. This is a window sticker, so I guess there's 2, but this one I've actually made just black and white, so it really is subdued and doesn't pop out. If you know what you're looking for and you want to find that, you'll be able to. But really what this does, it draws your eye into this 1 call to action. And I changed the words around a little bit, so just to show you that, oftentimes it's good to test the words on your buttons. So instead of schedule a test drive, right? So I put test drive this exact car, kind of appealing to the fact that people don't want to schedule a drive. That's not exciting, scheduling. They want to actually drive it, right? So I changed the call to action. Also, I found that looking at this page on the left, it was busy enough that it was kind of hard to see what car this was. I really had to search and scan and dig for it, and then I go, oh, okay, here it is. It's the 2015 Nissan. Now here, I don't know how it ended up being 14 instead of 15. I think it's just a slightly different page. But I made the text, the font, much bigger. And I also emphasized the price, made the price much bigger. So this, I have no idea if this would perform better. But the way to find out is to run it through split test software and look at the results. So that's what I'm going to show you here. So the result page is just a chart that shows you the conversion rate over time. And again, this is just a sample. This is from a totally different test that I ran with a different client. But you can see the orange line is the original, and the conversion rate was hovering around 14, 15%. And the new one, the challenger page, was a much higher conversion rate, so it beat the original by 8.4%. So with this one test, let's say your business does $1 million in transactions a year. If you launch this winning test, that's worth $84,000 to you. If your business is big, let's say you do $100 million a year, this one change to your website will bring in an additional $8.4 million in sales. So I hope you're starting to see like the power of working on your conversions. It's unbelievable the effect this can have on your business. All right, so once you get some test ideas, we use, I'm not going to go into detail on this because we're kind of running low on time and I want to make sure there's time for Q&A, is we use what's called the ROI prioritization framework. So we give everything a rating from 1 to 10, how much resources it will take to implement and maintain those changes, the opportunity, so how much can this conversion actually be improved, and the importance of that page in your marketing funnel. So the higher the number here, the higher up on the priority schedule, you're going to put that test. Okay, so then how do you know what to test? What are some ideas? The best way to find these ideas is just from experience. When you've run hundreds or thousands of tests, you have a lot of ideas built up. But here's a few that you can get you started. They're always some of the top ones that I like to recommend. Okay, number one, improving your unique selling proposition. So what makes your company special? A unique selling proposition is something that if you don't have this front and center on your website, you need to do it. You need to spend some time to really figure out what it is that makes you special and why a customer should buy from you instead of a competitor or instead of doing nothing at all. A lot of times people miss that part. Is they think, oh, they're going to buy from me or someone else. No, they might just not buy from anyone. So your USP needs to tell them what is special about you. And a few examples of USPs that you'll recognize. FedEx. FedEx really became legendary when they came up with this USP. So looking at these two, which one would you prefer if you needed a shipment the next day? Would you rather go with this company, next day delivery, or FedEx, a guy running to put your package on a plane when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight? You're pretty sure that if you need that package there in the morning, you're going to go with FedEx. Another couple examples, M&M's, most popular candy on the planet. Melts in your mouth, not in your hand. Right? They're unique. Their USP tells them what is unique about them. BMW's tagline is the ultimate driving machine. Right? These things are memorable, and they say something special about the company. You can use better language in your offers. Don't use words that can be misunderstood. This is such a major faux pas. And a lot of times people will use language that they understand, but their client doesn't. So I put together just a quick example. I found a website where I changed their USP just to show you an idea I would run. So there's a company called Cloudflare, and their actual website says this: give us 5 minutes and we'll supercharge your website. Supercharge is totally vague. I have no idea what that means. I don't understand it at all. Now, compare that to this. This is a tagline that I made up for them. Protect and accelerate your website in 5 minutes or less. You can see the different impact that these two statements have. This statement I found in their features page, right? But it's not on their homepage. And their homepage is where most of their traffic is probably making that decision whether I should sign up or go with a competitor or do nothing at all. So reducing clutter and distractions. This is a big one, and this is what I did with that previous test. There's so many plugins and bells and whistles you can add to your website these days, and more is not always more. People think, oh, this is a great tool, and this is a great chat, and this is a really cool option. By adding 10 neat plugins, you could be harming your website as opposed to helping it. So again, just back here, this shows you this was really a decluttering test and clarifying what we want the customer to do, and we want them to test drive that car. So that's what I emphasize as the primary call to action. Social proof and credibility. So you can come up with a test plan that tests different types of social proof or different credibility elements. And testing will help you figure out what works best for your company, what pages they should be on. These can be testimonials or statistics of who is using your software or your business or your product, or how many people are already using the product or service you're considering. A very famous one, which I'm sure everyone knows, is this sign. And this is kind of scary that they have served billions and billions of hamburgers, but it certainly does tell you that they probably know what they're doing when it comes to making hamburgers. This is one that I found. This is Norm Reeves Honda Superstore. And this is just a great thing that they've done in their header, the #1 volume Honda dealer in the USA. You have no doubt after reading that they sell a lot of cars and they know what they're doing. All right, here's another one, conveying urgency and scarcity. These emotional triggers help conversions, but only when used at the right point in the process. Should we put urgency on the homepage or on the cart or on both? The only way to know is to actually test it and find out the answer. So here's a homepage of a survival website that's selling a Strike Anywhere match. They're actually giving this away. But when you get here, it immediately starts this ticker that counts down. You have 12 hours, 47 minutes, and 25 seconds left to buy this. And that's right on the primary homepage when you get there. As opposed to Living Social, which is kind of like a Groupon site where you can buy discount gift ideas and experiences. So on the homepage on the left, there's nothing about urgency, nothing about how many are available or any sort of time limit. When you click into one of the products, you can see here in green, I've highlighted this, 12 hours remaining. And that just encourages quick action, and that's something that you could test on your site. So proper placement of images and video. Video and images and audio even can often dramatically impact sales. Funny enough, on automotive sites, I've seen tests where taking actual pictures as opposed to beautiful stock photos increase conversions. And you know, that's an example of something that's kind of counterintuitive, where you would think the nicer the photo, the more people would connect with it and the more they'd want to buy the car. Not the case sometimes. Sometimes a photo taken by someone's iPhone out in the lot with the car, you know, sitting out there under a tree converts better than the one that Mercedes took that cost them $50,000 for the photo shoot. You never know. So here's a quick example I found. This is from another test site. Oops, my slide got a little screwed up here. Image and test credits for leadpages.net. So you can see the only difference here is the image up in the corner. And one of these tests boosted sales by 42%. That's not a small increment. You know, we're not talking about 5%, we're talking 42%. And there's often times where a conversion test will boost by over 100%. But in here, one of these boosted the response by 42%. It was this one on the right. And I don't exactly know why. My hunch would be that people appreciate seeing the name and also having a closer look at this person's face and connecting with a happy person. Another thing they're doing here that I think is really smart is this guy's clearly looking down, and he's actually looking at the call to action button. So human nature is to follow the lead of other humans. And if you see a person looking at something, it's almost impossible to resist looking at the direction they're looking. So this wins in a lot of other tests I've done too, if you can match the gaze direction. So this kind of just culminates to this philosophy. And the philosophy I have about this is never make assumptions. And to increase your conversion rate, you're not just randomly picking ideas. You know, that's why even the test ideas I gave you, there's some best practices and ideas that generally do pretty well if you test them. But what you really have to do is go back to the three things I told you at the beginning, the 3 steps: heat maps, analytics, and exit pop-ups. Those are 3 of the tools that I highly recommend. You have to discover why people are abandoning your site and fix it. It's not about guessing, it's about discovering it. So if you were going to do this with Stream, here's how we outline our project. So we do about 3 to 4 weeks of research where we do surveys and user testing and emails. We look at your analytics, we look at heat maps. So we basically do qualitative and quantitative research. And then ongoing, we do a bi-weekly call with our clients where we review the test ideas, we review and improve the wireframes, we discuss the tests that have won and the tests that haven't, and we add those insights to our insight library. We run A/B split tests. Depending on how much traffic you have, we can run 1 or 2 bold, giant tests per month, and usually 1 or 2 subtle ones, which may be a test to your, change to your USP or some other headline on your site. We also do a monthly client satisfaction call with a net promoter score. It's equally important for me that anyone that I work with is thrilled with my service, because I'm always split testing different ways of working with clients, because I'm always honing and perfecting the results that I get and the feedback that I get. So that's incredibly important. And then we do a quarterly message to market match review where we take those insights and we help you put them into other areas of your business, whether that's print or radio or even in your brick and mortar store. So I appreciate you attending. We're going to go to questions in a second, but before we do, I'm giving out a free conversion rate optimization assessment for anyone on the webinar. So if you are watching this and you want to sign up, here's a very long link. Let's see, I don't know if I can copy that in here. I'll copy it in a minute when I get out of presentation mode here, and I'll paste it into the chat window. But we will also follow up with that information. So you can go on the site and you can sign up for that free assessment. And you're going to get the top 3 outliers, which I showed you today. I'm going to give you a site abandonment report, and I'm going to give you a conversion elasticity rating. So I'm going to look at a few of your pages, and I'm going to give you an estimate of how much I think the conversion could probably be improved. And that's another important thing for choosing which pages to work on, is back to the ROI framework that I explained. And if a page is all very well, if it's not a bottleneck in your marketing funnel, it's not really worth working on. So you want to look for the pages that have the most room for improvement with the least amount of effort. I'm all about leveraging time and energy and money. So whenever I work with a client, we go into what could bring the most bang for your buck in the shortest period of time. And if you want to reach us, you can at Stream Companies or on Facebook at facebook.com/streamco. And now I will jump right into any questions. If anyone has any questions, I've got about 6 minutes left, and I can take any questions that you have. So if someone wants to jump in there and ask a few questions. I actually got a few as I was preparing for the webinar too, so I'm going to jump over to my email. Oops. Okay. Oh wait, here we go. I'm just going to jump over to my email program and grab a few things. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I see, here we go. Here's one from Sandy. Okay, what if your company does not offer the ability to place orders on your site? Yeah, that's fine. I work with a ton of companies like that. So if you do not sell items on your website, you still have a goal that you want your visitors to get to. In that your goal might just be them viewing a certain page. It might be watching a video. It might be downloading a certain form or a spec sheet on something that you sell. It might be getting a quote on a B2B order. So there's all sorts of different goals that you can have, and it's different for every person. But that's individualized to each client or each project that I work on. And if you set up your goals in analytics and start tracking those goals, you're just looking for increasing the action that you want people to take. And that doesn't have to be purchasing the product. Okay. I've got a question from John saying, how long do you need to let a test run for? So that also depends on your traffic numbers. It depends on two things. The length of time you need a test to run for depends on the traffic you get to your website and the amount that you increase conversion rate. So if you double the conversion rate of a page, the tracking software can measure that in a much shorter period of time. If you're only increasing the conversion rate by, say, 5%, you need a much bigger sample size for that to get a statistically significant result. Do we have any other questions I can help with? I got a couple minutes left here. And again, if you want to email me, you can reach me directly at todd.staples@streamcompanies.com. and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions via email. Anyone else have thoughts or questions? Well, here's one asking about the tool that does the pop-up exit intent. So that tool is called Hotjar, and you can find it at hotjar.com. I can bring it up on the screen here for you. So hotjar.com is actually a fantastic tool, and it will allow you to do all sorts of great stuff to your site. Bring this over here. So it does heat maps, recordings, funnels, forms, polls, surveys, all sorts of great stuff. And there's a very basic version that you can get for cheap, or you can get more of an enterprise level agency version like we use, which is a lot more expensive. But the basic one, I think you can actually get for free, or then it's $7 a month or something for the basic package. All right, well that pretty much cuts off, that's as much time as I've got. So if there's any other questions, again, you can feel free to email them to me directly. Oh, I'm having a little computer glitch here. Here we go. I'll just leave this up for a minute. So my email's at the bottom there. It's todd.staples@streamcompanies.com. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Hopefully this was educational. I think there's some great takeaways here, and I hope, if nothing else, I taught you a little bit about why this should be a focus of yours and how much of an impact it can make on your business. Because I've seen this time and time again with my own business and with clients' businesses. Like, this can be the thing that makes your company successful. It takes you from a break-even business to a business that is making money hand over fist. And if there's anything I can do to help you with that, please email me, reach out. I would love to help. Thanks again for joining me today. And